Okay, here's a video for unemployment. This should be fairly quick. So starting off with the definition, I'll put it in there. With the definition, as long as you say a few of these keywords, you're sorted. So the keywords are someone, if they're unemployed, they've got to be willing to work, so that means they actually want to get a job. They've got to be available. So available would be, for example, if you are a student, you're not available to work because you're at school. Willing, available, and the other key bit is able. So this is basically, there's lots of people who've got disabilities, which means they can't work. That means they're not able to work, so they can't be counted as unemployed. So to be unemployed, you've got to be willing, available, and able to work, but you haven't got a job. So that's the first part. Moving on to the next bit, how it's measured. So unemployment is measured in two ways. It's either the ILO or the claimant count. So, to be honest, you don't really need to know much about this, apart from there are two ways. The ILO can also be called the Labour Force Survey, but like the ILO is just a survey. So they ask a few people, well they ask us, I don't actually know the number, they ask a number of people, are you unemployed? They tell them if they're unemployed or not. Simple as that. Claimant count is the number of people who are claiming, at this point with claimant count, don't say it's the number of people claiming benefits, it's the number of people claiming job seekers allowance. Right, that's not how you spell allowance, but I don't know how to spell it, so we're going to go with that. So, job seekers allowance. The thing is, which one of these two is normally higher? Normally, claimant count is lower than the ILO, and the reason is, lots of people, for one reason, don't actually want to claim a benefit because they feel embarrassed about it, and secondly, you could come up in the survey as not having a job, but you're not able to claim benefit because your partner may be earning enough money, so you're not actually allowed to earn benefit. Okay, so that's the first two bits. This is where it gets a wee bit more complicated. And the four types of unemployment. Now you should know these four, but the first one is the most important one, and some people call it a demand type of unemployment. And it is cyclical unemployment. So, one word for it is cyclical. Some other people call it demand deficient. Again, deficient doesn't look right, but I'm going with it. Okay, some people call it cyclical, some people call it demand deficient. I call it cyclical, but it really doesn't matter. What this one is simply when there is not enough demand, AD, in the economy. Now remember, there's some key terms we're going to go through in a second, but this is a diagram. So with cyclical unemployment is when demand might have been here in the economy, AD here. Obviously I'm going to label it properly just to make sure you guys do. Don't go away. Right, so AD is at that point, but if AD was to go down in the economy, what will end up happening? This will mean that there will be less output in the economy. Now, why will this cause unemployment? And we know this because demand for labour is derived from demand for goods and services. So if there is less demand for goods and services, there'll be less demand for labour. Now, I know that sounds posh, the derived bit, but the key point is, if you're a company and you're making less goods and services, what do you need less of? You need less workers. So it kind of makes sense. And that is cyclical unemployment. Right, next one. We're now on to structural. This is, what was that? Structural hasn't got a diagram, but it's the second most important one. Some people call it a supply side type of unemployment. Some people do, some people don't. But it's called structural. I'm going to go back to black ink. So the key thing with structural is, yes, there are jobs in the economy, there are jobs, but the problem is either workers are in the wrong place or they've got the wrong skills. So a key part of the definition is there is a mismatch. So, is there two S's a mismatch? That's how we look. Oh, not happy with that. No, I don't like that. I'm going to go back. So, I can't go back. Oh, who cares? Right, mismatch. That means there's a mismatch between the jobs that are available and the type of people who are out there who want those jobs. So there are two major mismatches. One is people might have might be, what's the word? Might be occupationally. Again, I'm feeling like putting two C's, but anyway, occupationally immobile. This means, yes, there are jobs available, but they have not got the right skills for those jobs, so therefore they can't get them. An example of this is, there might be loads of financial jobs out there, but lots of people who want those financial jobs haven't got the skills for it, so they're not able to do the job. And the second one is whether people are geographically immobile. And this basically just means there could be a job in London, but you live in Sunderland. And the thing is, because you like your family and friends, you don't want to leave to London, so you end up being geographically immobile, which means you can't actually go and get that job, even though it's there. Right, now we're going to go quickly through the next two. Those are the two that really matter. The next one is frictional. And you all know that means you're between jobs. Now the thing is, if I was between jobs for 3 weeks, I wouldn't actually mind that much, because what have we got in the UK? We get loads of benefits. But if benefits were cut, what would that potentially do to frictional unemployment? It could make frictional employment go down because people have got an incentive to go get another job. So that's frictional. And the last one is, and I'm really not that bothered by this one, it's just there for the multiple choice, is seasonal. And that is basically, there are some jobs where during a certain season those jobs will come up and that season will finish and they'll be gone. Now I always give an example of like a lifeguard, but you can also think about somewhere like, Next, the clothes shop. They bring in lots of workers over Christmas, but then as soon as Christmas is finished, they get rid of them. Okay, last bit of this is the output gap. Now, output gap, this is this diagram where we've got this line, this squiggly one going up here. Real GDP is up here, which is, oh god, that looks terrible. GDP is there, and this is time. Right, I'm going to zoom in on this to make it easier. What is the key thing here? When the economy is down by here, this means there is not much demand in the economy. This is how much, this is the actual rate. This is the trend rate. The trend rate is how much they thought the economy is going to be growing by. But at the minute, the economy is going down by here, and that's because there's not much demand in the economy. So when the economy is down by here, there's going to be cyclical unemployment, because there's less demand than the expected capacity of the economy. Another way to show that diagram would be just the PPF, and to say, at this point A, it's there on the PPF. Obviously you'd label it capital goods and consumer goods. Okay, that is unemployment types in a nutshell. What you need to do is you need to be able to do what I've just done without any help. If you can do that sheet on your own without any help, you're sorted. Brilliant. This